Welcome back to a new episode of the Future Pathfinders podcast. Today, I'm your host, Alyssa Leon. I'm having Daniel Nunez, executive of BridgeOfWills blog. Daniel Nunez, tell me about yourself. When did you start your project?
Well, I will say I started my project in August of 2022. The idea started in July 2022, but I started my podcast in 2022. But I think not my podcast, my blog rather. I started my blog in 2022 in August, and I basically continued it as a personal solo act until I decided a few days ago actually to get a team together so we can actually take it big where I wanted to take it because we're in an election year right now. The partisanship in this country is really terrible surrounding the election. You're seeing the right becoming more polarized. You're seeing the left becoming more polarized, and you're seeing the center become demonized. So what we're trying to do is basically lower the partisanship. And I found that creating an executive team, we've got a great team going on. We got Leah, we got Mia, we got Felix, we got a great team. And with the team, I think we can take it to a very big level. We can take our blog to a big level and involve so many young leaders across the country.
Well, that's good. I know that when you initially shared the project with me, you described it as a student-led passion project.
Mm.
And like the whole point was that it was going to provide youth unbiased political journalism. And you guys have lots of ways to extend like your message out to everybody. Especially like since it's on a like online platform, you guys can bring
Right.
audiences and authors together. So you know, like elaborate more on what prompted you to start the project initially, because I know you just mentioned that there's a lot of like political partisan like and political trouble today in our like nation. So can you just elaborate on that? How has your goal for your project changed since you initially started it?
Well, let's take the first half of the question. So the first half of the question was why I started it. Well, it was actually an election year. 2022 was actually an election year. We were going into the midterm elections. We saw what was happening with Roe v. Wade. We saw what was happening on social media, mass protests because of the decision. And I think the right and the left were becoming incredibly vehement about their own position. So what we were trying to do is what I was trying to do back then was basically provide a way where I could provide my own nonpartisan opinions. And I think when I started, I think I was a little bit out of my league because I think I was out of my league and I wasn't as evolved as I was now as a writer. And I think what happened was I think it wasn't as focused as I wanted it to be. Now we're evolving it to become more focused. We are increasing our social media presence. We are focusing what we're going to post and when we're going to post it. And we're basically creating an accountability for ourselves because we're streamlining and focusing our vision. I think that even though we started the project 2 years ago, I started the project 2 years ago, I think it's really maturing right now when it has to mature because of a presidential election is right around the corner. I mean, it's only a couple months away. Our latest state of the race post is 166. I'll elaborate what that is in after the interview. In the interview, so since the election's so close, I think what we need to do now it is more pressing than ever for something like this to evolve and to involve student leaders in the election process to help diffuse the tensions, the partisan tensions destroying our country because of this election.
Well, 100%. And I think that the goal and the mission that your initiative, your blog takes up with the rest of your team is very noble. And, I want to learn more about like the process that it takes for you guys to curate your articles, you know, create, use reputable sources and really just create like dynamic pieces on the international and domestic level. So can you
Right.
please walk me through your creation process for these
Oh,
important articles?
oh yeah, oh yeah. The creative process is it's really it's really shell shocking to think about a little bit. It's a little daunting for me. That's why we're becoming more consistent now. Having a team is basically going to help me focus because I would say that I'm rather a perfectionist when it comes to articles. So I burn through 10, 11, 12 drafts of one article to try and make sure it's perfect. And then I end up going for the fifth or sixth draft of the article. So, and the process of which is it's very rigorous. So first, I decide what I want to write about. Then we start looking at reputable sources. We look at CNN. We look at we look at National Geographic. We look at very reputable sources, NPR, MSNBC. We look at these sources. We read about them. I read about them, and then I start writing. And then I start writing in a way that I always write it on paper first. I never type it up first. So I always write it on paper because I'm a very strong believer that the ideas flow a lot better on paper than they do on a computer.
I
So
agree.
we do it on paper. We do it on paper, and then what I do is I read it, I start scratching out, and I go to the second draft. I rewrite it until I'm very satisfied with the end result. I think there hasn't been an article on Bridge of Wills that there has been less than 5 drafts because I go through a lot of drafts and to try and make it the best it could possibly be because that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that the work we're putting out there is not uh, low quality, that the work is not low effort. I put a lot of time into these articles, and now going forward with a team, it's going to be the burden's going to be a lot less on me, and we're going to do it more as a collective effort. So it's going to help. It's the added benefit of I have less pressure on myself, and it's basically a check on the perfectionism, and also I have more voices in the project. So it's not just a me project; it's a student project.
Yeah, it's a very diverse project, and I mean, I think that's a really good like rough overview about your creation process for your articles. I know that you don't only have articles, you have election like state of the race. Can you elaborate more about that?
Oh yes. I actually started that very recently. I think it was in April of this year. So I started it and was like, I see all of these different places doing ratings, and sometimes I don't agree with that. So basically, I see 538 doing ratings. I see other ratings by other predictors on various social media platforms, and I wanted a way to get my own ratings out, but also involve it with my nonpartisan mission because I think elections nonpartisanship don't have to be mutually exclusive. It doesn't have to be a mutually exclusive thing. So I wanted to combine it together, and I wanted to talk about the events that were influencing how states are going to vote. So I was going to talk about the current events going on in the country at the moment and how they're impacting the electoral race. So that's why I created State of the Race. That's where I have my own predictions about what's going to happen. I have the probability ratings, so the probability of a candidate winning the state, and then I have the margin ratings. So the margin ratings are what I think were to happen if the election were held today, given the current information I'm reading from these nonpartisan places. So I have ratings like that for the Senate, for the House, and for the presidential election. And I want to announce here on the podcast next week we're going to start the governor state of the race. So we're going to do election ratings for governorships too, because we wanted to expand it out so we can encompass everything. We can get House, Senate, presidency, and governorships. Those are the key elections going on in our cycle, and that's where we're going to launch. So State of the Race combines everything. Predictions, you can click on the pictures of the states that we have for polling averages. You can see that you can click my own predictions for national averages. That's how we base our predictions, on news and on polling. So that's what we do at State of the Race.
I'm glad that State of the Race is a diverse effort because not only are you doing different types of elections, you're doing Senate, you're doing national elections, and now that you're just, announcing that you guys are doing governor, updates, I think that's really cool. Because, you're bringing all this information more localized to people, especially, youth that aren't as civically literate.
Right.
Civically, governmentally literate, people would rather care less in our generation about being politically involved. So I think this is a good effort on, you and your team's behalf, to really make this like this world more informed. So I commend that. Um this is just like a random question that just came into my mind, but what article are you just most proud of?
Absolutely. The article I am most proud of is I basically wrote a political epitaph for President Nixon and the Watergate scandal. So I wrote that's another thing that we do at Bridge of Wills that we're going to start to revive again. It's on this day in history. We're going to write about a historical event that happened that day in history. So I wrote about Watergate when it happened. So basically, when President Nixon resigned, August 14th, I think, of 1973, or 1974 rather. Yes, 1974 rather. When President Nixon resigned, I get the dates mixed up. It's a little confusing. I wrote an article. I wrote an article about the whole Watergate scandal. I think it was about 1,000 words. And my God, the way I was able to encapsulate President Nixon's character and basically the essence of the Watergate scandal in that article, that is the article I am most proud of because I always look back at my articles and I think, man, I could have done this better. I could have changed the sentence around. I could have reworded it this way, made it cleaner, smoother. That is the one article on the blog. The one article on the blog that I look at it and read it and say, damn, I couldn't have done any better than that. I am very proud of that article.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of those moments, especially I don't know about you, but for myself, I view myself as my toughest critic. There's no one out there that can be as tough and as harsh as I am on myself. So peer review is definitely important, especially after you just said that you have your new executive team. You have a team of more diverse minds, more diverse knowledge, and experience. Because I know that one of your team members, I believe his name is Felix, he said that you met him through where again?
Hispanic Scholarship Fund. The
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, the Spanish, yeah, that's really cool, by the way. Congrats for that. But that he's really interested in politics. So you have a team, I'm just mentioning one person, but like there's a team of a lot of people. I know that
and
you,
and I'd love to for you to say on the blog that me and Felix actually don't agree on 80% of our political issues. We have debates and chat. So we are not politically the same at all, but we found a way to basically create a working relationship that I think that we can apply to the whole blog, because our schedule is going to be I post one, Felix posts an article. It's going to be on Fridays. There's going to be editorials. So I post an article, then Felix is going to post an article, then me and Felix are going to work on an article together. So we're going to joint post on the third Friday of every month. So it's going to be Daniel, it's going to be Felix, and then Felix and Daniel, and then Felix again or me. We'll do a vote on that. But basically, we're alternating articles and editorials so we can get a lot of fresh opinion. And I'm really excited to launch that co-host, basically co-writing with Felix. I think it's going to be a great relationship.
yeah, I think that's gonna be a really great thing. And I like that you just pointed out that you guys don't have the same political, like, all the time, political ideas all the time. So that you guys refrain from becoming like a homogenous blog, something that's just definitely not fresh and not exciting and something that doesn't spark discussion. Because at the end of the
Right.
day, the mission is to just like, spark discussion. So I appreciate that. And I think it'll definitely show within your writing and your future articles. Now, I want to ask, has your project inspired your take or, activity on any other outside activities or research?
Oh, yes. So basically, I launched in 2023 through 2024. I did an AP research project on presidential polling and polling in general. So I interviewed some of the brightest minds in polling. I interviewed Mr. Charles Franklin, professor at the University of Madison, Wisconsin. He's frequently regarded as one of the best state pollsters in the country. He's frequently featured on articles like and the New York Times, the Washington Post, whose polls are featured there. And he's basically the preeminent expert on Wisconsin polling. I also interviewed the managing editor of Sabato's Crystal Ball. I interviewed him, and basically that's the premier Center for Politics in the country at the University of Virginia.
Mhm.
And I also interviewed Professor Casey Klostat here at University of Miami. He's the professor of government and the chair of government at the University of Miami. So basically, I wanted to collect a diverse group of perspectives. So a national election center, state polling, and the University of Miami professor. I wanted to get all these perspectives and basically do a diagnostic about what's going on in our polling, because there has been a shift in polling where two sides are accusing the other. So there's two sides in the debate: the media accusing polling, the polling accusing media. So basically, this duality of what's going on. I wanted to investigate it, where it came from, how it started, where it's going to go, and how basically it can be remedied by adopting standards, universal standards rather, to actually help remedy this discussion, this vehement debate, because sometimes these two industries, media and polling, are tearing themselves apart. So I wanted to find reconciliation on that ground so they both can apply these universal standards to see what can be applied.
That's really cool. I remember when I read your AP research project, I was like, wow, this is definitely, a brain dump, a lot of stuff, but it actually turned out really well, and I hope that, your score like reflects that. It was really interesting. I liked how you include like the societal and the political together. I thought that was really cool. Um, so yeah, your Bridge of Wills, like, and your political experience, your knowledge on government, it's crazy. But you like convoluted it together to make that paper. And it complements, what you have going on professionally. So I wanted to ask you, how does Bridge of Wills fit into your future for advocacy? Like, we're graduating soon. What are you gonna do with Bridge
Yeah.
of Wills? How is that? What does that look like?
Ooh. Wow, that's actually a great question. So we plan to take Bridge of Wills. We our plan is to make it the most popular political blog in the country. That's our blog. It's a very ambitious blog,
Very, very
very ambitious blog, and very ambitious aspirations. We basically plan to involve as many student leaders as we can. We plan to basically use all these diverse perspectives. We plan to basically grow our social media presence, grow it as an industry, and grow it as a blog and organization itself. We plan to grow it and involve more people within it. So basically, we want to grow Bridge of Wills. We want to get more subscribers. We want people. We want more people reading our stuff. So basically, we want to grow and we want to take our nonpartisan mission across the country. So basically, that's what we want to do. And in terms of my professional life, I work at Virtutum Popula with you as advocacy director. Basically, that's what we do too. That's something we're focusing on: lowering nonpartisanship and basically extending opportunities for student leaders to get involved in their communities and make a real difference and spark real change.
personally, that's 100%. And I like how you're taking this like your own personal initiative. You're not just sticking with volunteering, with our team at Richton Populo, but you're really taking it into your own hands and you're making it a collaborative effort, which I commend. I think that's really cool. And I just wanted to ask you, do you guys have any recent opportunities for our listeners to get more involved with your project? Because I know that you're saying you want to increase your subscriber count, you want to increase your impact that you have on the national scale with this project. Please share with us.
Oh, absolutely. So basically, what we're planning to do is we're planning to launch a YouTube channel where we actually interview high-profile guests. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to launch a YouTube channel where we interview politicians, where we interview different people across the political spectrum in a way to find common ground. And also for the listeners of this podcast, you can go on our bio on Bridge of Wills on Instagram and you can see the Guest Wednesday site up. So basically, Guest Wednesdays is an opportunity for listeners to be featured and to write an article of their choice on an issue that really matters to them, about current events, about elections, whatever they want, and basically write an article and get featured both on our Instagram at the end of the month and on the website itself. So basically, it's an opportunity for listeners to get involved. And when they feel strongly about a political topic, they can write about it. We're basically getting opinions from across the spectrum, and we're basically publishing them in an effort to include everything while us, the editorial team, staying nonpartisan. Because what we want to do is showcase these opinions. We're not going to tell our readers what to think. We're going to tell them how to think, more they can make up their own minds. We're not telling them what to think. We want them to make up their own minds. And by showing all these different perspectives and by writing these editorials and basically having a nonpartisan executive team, I think we can make it happen. So check out Guest Wednesdays on our Instagram profile. That's the best way to get involved with Bridge of Wills at the moment.
Well, that's really cool. And I didn't know that you guys were going to start, basically hosting a podcast. Y'all not taking us over, aren't you? I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm messing. Relax. But yeah, I will be submitting my form for the Guest Wednesdays. I think that's really exciting.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really cool.
Actually,
yeah.
we have a lot of demand. Guest Wednesday has been really in demand recently. Yeah, and we actually have our this Wednesday slot is filled up. For this coming Wednesday, we have an article already written, actually. So we're just editing it. We're getting pictures. And so for Wednesday, we're going to publish it. It's an article about how third parties are going to affect the 2024 presidential race. So coming off right out of State of the Race on Monday, I think the Wednesday article is really going to complement what we're going to do on Monday.
I think, and that's really cool. And the timing's really great because, we have all this, preoccupation with like a bunch
We'd also like to say on the 27th, the debate, either the 29th or the 27th, we're going to have a special Bridge of Wills article coming out the day the debate comes. So basically, right as the debate ends, we're going to publish a post-debate reflection about what each candidate says. So our Bridge of Wills team is going to be watching the debate on a Zoom. We're going to be taking notes. We're going to be writing an article. And then shortly after the debate is over, we're going to publish that article. Not just that, the week before election week, we're basically going to be publishing articles every single day about the issues affecting in the election. We're going to do basically a nonpartisan biopsy of every single issue affecting the 2024 race: inflation, the economy, social issues, environmental issues. every week going up to the election so voters can get more informed as the election comes up. And we're going to host a very special election night watch party on the Bridge of Wills YouTube channel. So it's going to be great.
That's really cool. It looks like you guys have your work cut out for you, especially with the upcoming months and the upcoming election. I'm excited for how it's going to turn out. This is not the space or time to talk about, the outcome of the election, the
Yeah. Go to
election.
bridgeofwills.com.
Go to
Go to
BridgeOfWills, though.
bridgeofwills.blog to
Listen
find
to
out
your
what my
thing.
predictions are.
Our listeners, head over to Bridge of Wills. Daniel Nunez and the rest of his team are going to share with you their opinions. And that's definitely something. And I just, I want to emphasize this is 100% student led, right? Like this is definitely a project that, doesn't have you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have a fancy certificate, fancy course to
Nope.
be
You don't have to be a political scientist for this.
You don't have to do that. You don't need to have any of that. So I think that's really cool that you're extending this opportunity out to everybody. Anybody that's willing to do it. And so we've been talking a lot like national and domestic, like work that you guys are doing and uploading to the podcast. Like, what's your vision for any international news or current events? I know that you guys
Oh,
did one for Navalny, the
yes, we did. Yeah.
I
Oh,
read the
well,
article.
rather I did. Now we're expanding it. Yes. So what we're planning to do is we're basically looking into launching a newsletter on Friday, coming out with our main editorial. The newsletter is going to complement it. So it's a newsletter basically doing a speed run and a run through of what's going on in international and national news. So we're basically going to have international news and national news. So basically have a quick reader digest so they know what's going on in the world. So we're going to have domestic news juxtaposed by international news so readers can get a nice breadth of knowledge, in a space that is basically attainable to read so they can understand what's going on every single week. So we plan to launch that beside the Friday editorials. And the newsletter is going to launch in around 2 weeks because we're designing it right now. And we're going to see how we're going to do it, how we're going to structure it. But what we're trying to do is launch the newsletter and the Friday editorial simultaneously.
That's really cool. That's really interesting. I'm definitely gonna look in more into that. I definitely appreciated a lot of your international articles. You guys have a few. I Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have the Navalny one. You guys, am I pronouncing it correct? Naval
Navani.
Navalny. Oh my God, stop. Whatever. I have that one. There is you guys have another one. I
Yeah,
forgot.
we have quite a few in there actually. We have a rather robust catalog. I think we have a couple. We have like 30 some articles, and actually the idea for Guest Wednesday came up because a couple student leaders actually came on the website and started writing, and I decided why not make this a weekly thing? Why not basically involve a lot more writers into this and get a lot more opinions into this? So that's what we wanted to do.
Nice. And just, to kind of wrap up our episode, we've been talking a lot about Bridge of Wills, how it functions, the ideas behind it. Now I want to ask you guys how it feels like working on a team with like-minded students, even though like your blog isn't like a result of like a homogenous, idea, like or political ideas. Tell me a little bit about your team structure, how you guys work together to make your articles, anything?
Well, the team is freshly minted. Actually, the team
Okay.
is just freshly minted. We just made the team basically a couple days ago. Actually, I approached a couple people to basically create a team in an effort to basically streamline the process because I was spurred upon seeing the national events, seeing the news, and I was like, I need a team for this to happen. To take it to the level I wanted to do it, I can't do it alone. I think no one can do it alone. I think you need a robust team. So I reached out to people. I reached out to a solid group of individuals, and our structure is I'm the editor in chief, Felix is the vice editor, Mia is the publisher, and Leah is the vice publicist. So basically, we're having basically a diverse group of people. We're having our editors and we're having our publicists handling the social media and even contributing to articles sometimes, because our publicists have actually said interest. Some of our publicists had interest in contributing an article on Guest Wednesdays, which would be great. So basically, we're going to have our executive team, our writing team. So that's me and Felix. We're going to be cooperating on articles. We're going to be revising Guest Wednesday articles because we're going to do some editing of the articles first, of course, with the author's consent. What we're going to do, any editing we're going to do on their articles is going to be with the author's consent. and with the best interest in mind. So we're basically having a cooperation. I'm having a cooperation with Felix. It's very much a 50-50 share. So basically, that structure of editor in chief, vice editor, publicist, and vice publicist, I think that encompasses all that the blog can do, reaching out and writing. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, I think that's really cool, and that you guys are starting to build up a structure for Bridge of Wills. If especially since this thing has been started since 2022, you guys are definitely gonna right 2022.
Twenty 22.
You guys have definitely grown from then, and I think that this could be a great project. I think our listeners should take advantage of the Guest Wednesdays opportunity and the new state of the race updates that they have, especially with the governor thing. I didn't know that before. That's really cool. And yeah, is there anything else you just want to end off today? Like, let our listeners know?
Yeah, you can go subscribe to our blog. It actually shows up on our landing page, bridgeofwills.blog. It will really help us out and basically increase our audience. And we want to reach as many people as possible because I think the material that's about to come out from the new Bridge of Wills team is going to be truly, truly excellent. So I really want the readers to see it, and I really want the listeners, to read it. So yeah, go subscribe to bridgeofwills.blog. It would really help us out. And thanks very much.
Yeah. And one last thing, do you guys have social media? So are
Yes, we do.
all
Yes, we
you?
do. We have a Twitter, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook. We're gonna launch a YouTube channel and a TikTok. So we're gonna try and encapsulate everything to basically increase our presence and make sure that we reach as many people as possible with our nonpartisan message.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. Thank you for having us on the podcast. We were really excited to partner with you. This is a great project. Our founders, our executive team at FBF love the blog, and we can see what you guys do with it. So, yeah, guys, everybody submit an article, do everything to support Bridge of Wills. And yeah, I think
I'm,
that's it.
I was honored to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.